Welcome to DD History, where the past isn't boring, it's downright bizarre. Now, when we think of Roman emperors, we usually picture stern men in togas, marble statues, and speeches about duty, honor, and Rome. But then, there was Caligula. Oh, Caligula was not your average emperor. He was wild, unpredictable, and to put it mildly, a few olives short of a full salad. And today's story? It's about the time Caligula decided that one of the most powerful positions in the entire Roman government shouldn't go to a senator, a general, or a brilliant statesman, but to his horse. Yes, you heard that right. His horse. Now don't get me wrong, this wasn't just any horse. Incitatus was spoiled beyond imagination. We're talking marble stables, fine dining, and more bling than a rapper at the Grammys. And while some ancient historians say Caligula only planned to make him consul, others claim he really did elevate his four-legged friend to priesthood and beyond. Either way, the story is so ridiculous, it has lived for nearly 2,000 years. But why? Was Caligula just that crazy? Or was this some kind of twisted political joke at the expense of Rome's senators? And what does it say about the empire when the most pampered horse in history almost had more power than half the Roman Senate? Stick around, because this tale is part comedy, part tragedy, and all unbelievable. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss how far Caligula took this. Stick around to see just how far Caligula went with his horse. But first, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe. It helps this channel keep bringing you the wildest, weirdest, and funniest stories from history. Plus, you don't want to miss what's coming next. When you hear the name Caligula, you probably think, oh yeah, wasn't he the crazy Roman emperor who did weird stuff? And you'd be right. Caligula, born Gaius Julius Caesar Germanicus in 12 CE, came to power in 37 CE, and at first, things seemed promising. He was young, energetic, and had the famous family name to back him up. Romans actually cheered when he became emperor, thinking they were finally getting a fresh start after the long reign of the cautious and grumpy Tiberius. But if Rome thought they were getting a golden age, they were in for a wild ride. Caligula's reign started out fine, but very quickly it spiraled into a mix of extravagance, paranoia, and decisions that left senators scratching their heads, citizens whispering behind his back, and historians writing stories that sound more like satire than reality. One of those stories involves his absolute favorite companion, not a general, not a senator, not even a gladiator, but a horse. Yep, a horse. The horse's name was Incitatus, which means the swift one, and Caligula treated him better than most people would treat royalty. While ordinary Romans were lucky to have a roof over their heads and a loaf of bread for dinner, Incitatus had an entire stable made of marble with an ivory manger to hold his food. And when the horse dined, it wasn't oats and hay, it was meals served with golden dishes, because of course, why not? Caligula loved this horse so much, he even invited him to dinner parties. Imagine showing up to a fancy Roman banquet, reclining on couches while servants bring you wine, and across the table, there's a horse, probably munching on something that cost more than your yearly salary. Now, treating a horse like a pet, or even a prized champion, isn't that unusual. We still name racehorses today. But Caligula didn't stop at spoiling Incitatus. He made sure his horse lived better than most Roman nobles. Guards were stationed around the stables to make sure Incitatus wasn't disturbed, and it didn't end there. Caligula, being Caligula, had much bigger plans for his four-legged best friend. So here's where Caligula's obsession with Incitatus crossed from "that's weird" into, okay, this emperor has officially lost it. Spoiling a horse with marble stables, golden food bowls, and banquet invitations was one thing. But Caligula decided that Incitatus deserved a political career. Yes, according to Roman historians, Caligula announced that he planned to make his horse a senator. A senator. The Roman Senate, at least in theory, was the center of political life in Rome. Senators debated laws, advised the emperor, and represented some of the wealthiest, most powerful families in the empire. And Caligula wanted a horse to join their ranks. Now, historians debate whether Caligula really intended to carry out this plan or if it was just his twisted sense of humor. Some suggest he was mocking the Senate, saying in effect, "You people are so useless, even my horse could do your job." And honestly, given the tense relationship between emperors and senators, that's not a bad theory. Others believe Caligula may have been serious. After all, if you can shower a horse in luxury, why not give him a toga and voting rights too? Imagine it, Incitatus, hooves clopping on the marble floor of the Curia, while senators argue about taxation or military campaigns. The horse just whinnies, maybe stomps a hoof to cast his vote. Talk about political theater. The senators, for their part, were not amused. If Caligula's plan was indeed to mock them, it worked. They were already resentful of his arrogance and unpredictable behavior. This horse stunt only added fuel to the fire. It was a symbol of how Caligula thought himself above tradition, above reason, and above the very institutions that were supposed to keep Rome balanced. But here's the big question. Was Caligula really insane, or was he playing a dangerous game of politics through shock value? Some historians argue that he wasn't mad in the medical sense, but rather cruel, theatrical, and obsessed with humiliating anyone who dared challenge him. Making his horse a senator might have been his ultimate punchline at the Senate's expense. Unfortunately for Caligula, these kinds of stunts didn't earn him loyal followers. They earned him enemies. His reign didn't last long, only about 4 years. In 41 CE, he was assassinated in a plot carried out by his own guards. Turns out if you insult your politicians and your protectors, life expectancy drops fast. So what happened to Incitatus? Sadly, history goes quiet on the horse. After Caligula's death, no one bothered to keep track of him. It's safe to assume he went back to being just a very spoiled racehorse without the chance to vote on Roman tax laws. But the story of Incitatus lived on as one of the strangest footnotes in history. It's a tale we still tell nearly 2,000 years later, not because the horse ever held office, but because of what the whole episode reveals. It shows us how absolute power can twist reality, how leaders sometimes mock their own institutions, and how absurd history can get when ego meets authority. And honestly, it's just hilarious to picture a horse in the Roman Senate, neighing at policy debates. It's history's way of reminding us that sometimes the truth really is stranger and funnier than fiction. So the next time your teacher says, "History is boring," just remember, there was once an emperor who tried to make a horse a senator. And that's the Roman Empire in a nutshell. Epic battles, towering achievements, and moments of pure, ridiculous comedy. And that's the strange but true tale of Incitatus, the horse who nearly trotted his way into the Roman Senate. It's one of those stories that reminds us how unpredictable and sometimes downright silly history can be. Thanks for joining me on this ride through ancient Rome. If you had fun with Caligula's horse, you're going to love what's coming up next. Because if you think one man trying to make his horse a senator is wild, wait until you hear about a building where emperors packed in 50,000 Romans to watch gladiators fight lions, naval battles, and even each other. That's right, the Colosseum, a place of epic spectacles, brutal contests, and engineering genius that still stands today. Stick around, because that's our next stop in history. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the past.